Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. Like this video and subscribe the channel for more HFY stories. Listen, I have been doing this job for 73 cycles now, cataloging human artifacts for the Galactic Historical Preservation Institute, and let me tell you something. I thought I had seen everything. Every bizarre, inexplicable, utterly confounding piece of human nonsense that ever existed. But then they brought me a crumpled piece of paper with crayon marks on it, and suddenly my entire understanding of reality decided to pack its bags and go on vacation without telling me. My name is Krell, by the way. Senior Archivist, 3rd class. Yes, 3rd class. Do not get me started on the politics of archival rankings. The point is, I am very good at my job. I have processed over 14 million human items. Toasters. Photographs. Something called a fidget spinner that still haunts my dreams. I know humans. Or at least, I thought I did. The item came from Earth Sector 7, subsection Delta, from a demolished building in what used to be called Minneapolis. Some construction crew found a box of old papers in a wall cavity during a renovation project. Standard procedure, they shipped it to us. Most of it was garbage, honestly. Tax documents from 2031. A recipe for something called tater tot casserole that made my digestive tract hurt just reading it. And then, at the bottom of the box, protected by layers of forgotten paperwork, was the drawing. It measured approximately 20 by 30 centimeters. Standard human child art paper. The edges were yellowed, torn in places. Someone had written in the corner, in that wobbly script that human younglings produce, Mira Vance, age 7, my special sky picture. The drawing itself? Stars. Dozens of them. Some big, some small, rendered in yellow crayon with the kind of confidence only a 7-year-old possesses. Lines connecting them. Swirls of purple and blue that might have been nebulae, or might have been the result of too much sugar before bedtime. At the bottom, a small figure with triangular dress and stick arms, presumably Mira herself, staring up at her creation. I almost filed it under miscellaneous human juvenile artwork, subcategory astronomical interest, and moved on. Almost. But something made me pause. Maybe it was the way the stars were positioned. Maybe it was the 3 cycles I had spent without proper sleep thanks to a malfunctioning climate regulator in my quarters. Maybe the universe has a sense of humor so dark it makes black holes look cheerful. I scanned it into the system. Routine processing. The computer would analyze it, tag it, store it in the archives where it would sit for the next 1,000 years alongside millions of other human memories. Except the computer froze. Not crashed, mind you. Froze. Just stopped, like it had seen something that made its circuits question their entire existence. Then it started beeping. Not the normal beep. The, you might want to sit down for this, beep. Pattern recognition alert, the computer announced in that annoyingly calm voice it uses regardless of whether it is telling you the temperature or informing you that reality is breaking. Correlation detected with ancient archive database, confidence level 97.3%. I stared at the screen. What? The drawing contains a star map matching ancient navigation chart 771, origin unknown, age estimated at 47,000 years, predating all known spacefaring civilizations in this sector by approximately 19,000 years. Oh, sure. Of course it does. Why would a 7-year-old human child draw anything normal, like a house or a dog or whatever human offspring typically draw? No, this one casually recreates a star chart that predates recorded history. Makes perfect sense. I am sure this is fine. Everything is fine. I ran the analysis again. Same result. The computer helpfully overlaid the ancient chart onto the child's drawing, and I watched as star after star aligned with perfect accuracy. Not approximate. Perfect. Down to the positioning of minor stellar bodies that were not even visible to Earth's telescopes in 2034, when this drawing was apparently created. The ancient chart, for context, is one of our greatest mysteries. We found it on a derelict station floating in the outer margin, carved into walls that carbon dated back before humans even discovered fire. Before my species invented the wheel. Before anything we know about galactic history makes sense. The chart shows stellar positions that only existed during a specific window of time, roughly 47,000 years ago, and it includes notations in a language that nobody, and I mean nobody, has ever been able to translate. And this human child, this Mira Vance, had drawn it. With crayons. While probably taking breaks to eat chicken nuggets or whatever human young consume. I did what any rational being would do in this situation. I panicked quietly and professionally, then immediately contacted my supervisor. Commander Thex arrived within the hour, which tells you how seriously they took my message. Thex is a Vorian, all 6.5 feet of gray-scaled authority and perpetual disapproval. They looked at the drawing, then at the computer overlay, then at me like I had just told them I was planning to take up interpretive dance. "This is confirmed?" Thex asked. Triple-checked. "The computer is very certain. Disturbingly certain." Thex's throat sac inflated, which is never a good sign. "We need to find this human. This Mira Vance. Immediately." "About that," I said, pulling up the information I had already started gathering, because I am not a complete amateur. The drawing is dated March 2034, which makes it about 57 years old. If she was 7 then, she would be 64 now. I have located her. She is alive, living in a place called New Seattle, working as, and I cannot make this up, a botanical garden curator. A what? She grows plants. For aesthetic purposes. Thex stared at me for a long moment. The human who somehow possessed knowledge of an ancient alien star map, knowledge that predates her entire species by millennia, grows flowers? I did not say it made sense. I am just reporting facts. Would you like more facts? Because they get weirder. Thex's throat sac deflated slightly, which in Vorian body language translates roughly to, continue, but I am already regretting this conversation. I pulled up the biographical data I had compiled. Mira Vance, born 2027, grew up in Minneapolis, daughter of 2 very normal humans named Janet and Robert Vance. Father was an accountant, mother was a teacher. No unusual incidents in her childhood beyond the standard human chaos. She attended school, got decent grades, went to university for botany, graduated, got married to someone named Lucas Tam, had 2 children, currently has 3 grandchildren. She has never left Earth. Never shown any interest in astronomy beyond drawing that one picture when she was 7. Never been arrested, never been involved in anything remotely suspicious. She likes gardening and makes pottery in her spare time. This cannot be correct, Thex muttered. I assure you, the data is accurate. I even found her social media profiles. She posts pictures of succulents. Many, many pictures of succulents. There is a recent post about her sourdough bread starter. Her life is aggressively normal. Thex began pacing, which given the size of my office, meant they took approximately 2.5 steps before needing to turn around. There must be an explanation. Perhaps she saw the ancient chart somehow, her parents worked in archaeology, or she had access to restricted databases. Her parents were an accountant and a 3rd-grade teacher in Minnesota. And the ancient chart was not even discovered until 2041, 7 years after she drew that picture. It was found in deep space by a survey team and immediately classified. The only people who have seen it are approved researchers with maximum security clearance. Then how? Thex's voice had climbed to a pitch I had never heard before. That, I said, leaning back in my chair with the kind of exhausted satisfaction that comes from knowing you are about to ruin someone's entire worldview, is the question that is going to keep us up at night for the foreseeable future. We stood there, staring at the drawing. A child's artwork, complete with waxy crayon texture and one corner smudged where small fingers had touched it while the wax was still soft. Innocent. Simple. Absolutely impossible. Contact her, Thex finally said. Arrange a meeting. I do not care if we have to go to Earth ourselves. We need answers. Already working on it, I replied, pulling up the communication protocols. Though I should warn you, according to her calendar, she has a pottery class on Thursday and a garden club meeting on Saturday, so we might need to work around her schedule. Thex gave me a look that could have melted hull plating. What? I said. I am just saying, if we are dealing with someone who might hold the key to ancient alien knowledge, we should probably be respectful of her time. Besides, have you ever tried to reschedule with a human pottery class? Those people are serious about their ceramics. 3 days later, we were on a transport heading to Earth, because apparently when you find evidence that a human child somehow accessed information that should not exist, you do not send an email. You go in person. You bring backup. You prepare yourself for the very real possibility that everything you thought you understood about the universe is wrong. I spent the trip reviewing everything I could find about Mira Vance. Her school records, her artwork from childhood, all safely preserved by her mother and later donated to a local historical society. Most of it was typical. Cats with the wrong number of legs. Houses with impossibly proportioned windows. One memorable series depicting what she claimed were dinosaurs, though they looked more like potatoes with teeth. But there were other drawings of space. Not many, maybe a dozen across her entire childhood. And when I ran them through the pattern recognition software, my stomach, if I had a human one, would have dropped through the floor. For more matches. For more ancient charts, from 4 different derelict sites scattered across the galaxy. Star maps from different eras, different locations, all predating known civilization. All drawn in crayon by a child who apparently just really liked looking at the night sky. I did not tell Thex yet. Some news you save for when you're not trapped in a small spacecraft with someone who might have a breakdown. As we entered Earth's atmosphere, streaking through clouds over the blue-green marble that had spawned this impossible species, I found myself wondering. What are the chances? What are the actual, mathematical chances that a random human child would spontaneously recreate not 1, but 5 ancient alien navigation charts, without ever seeing them, without any possible source for the information? The answer, according to my calculations, was effectively 0. Which meant we were not dealing with coincidence. We were dealing with something else entirely. And I had a terrible, creeping suspicion that meeting Mira Vance was going to raise far more questions than it answered. The transport began its descent toward New Seattle, and I could see the sprawling gardens of the botanical center where she worked, green and vibrant against the urban landscape. Somewhere down there, a 64-year-old woman was probably watering plants, completely unaware that 2 aliens were about to show up and ask her about drawings she made in 2nd grade. I really hoped she had a good sense of humor about these things. Because we were about to turn her very normal life absolutely upside down. The New Seattle Botanical Gardens smelled like Earth. Which is to say, it smelled wet and green and faintly of something decomposing in a way that humans apparently find pleasant. I did not find it pleasant. My respiratory system was designed for sterile ship air and the occasional whiff of ozone. This was sensory assault disguised as nature. Thex looked equally uncomfortable, their scales turning a shade paler in the humidity. Remind me why we could not simply summon her to a proper facility? Because, I said, dodging a low-hanging branch that seemed personally offended by my presence, humans respond poorly to official summons from alien governments. Something about their history. Wars. Taxes. Also, the last time we tried that approach with a human, they brought 17 lawyers and a therapy dog. It took 6 months to sort out. 17 lawyers. Humans are litigious. It is their default state of being. We found Mira Vance in the succulent greenhouse, exactly where her assistant said she would be. She was kneeling beside a row of small, spiky plants, her hands covered in soil, gray hair pulled back in what humans call a ponytail. She wore dirt-stained pants and a shirt that read, "Plant Mom," in cheerful letters. This was the person who held secrets to ancient alien civilizations. The universe has a strange sense of proportion. She looked up as we approached, squinting slightly, then broke into a smile that seemed genuinely delighted rather than terrified. Points for unusual human reactions. "Oh wow," she said, standing up and brushing dirt off her knees. "You must be the researchers who called. Krell and Commander Thex, right? I have to say, I was surprised to get your message. I have not thought about those old drawings in, gosh, probably 40 years. Ms. Vance," Thex began in their most formal tone, "we appreciate you taking the time to meet with us." "Oh please, call me Mira. Ms. Vance makes me sound like my mother-in-law, rest her soul. Can I get you anything? Water? I am not sure what you folks drink, actually. I have some lemonade in the break room, but I do not know if that would be toxic to you or anything." I found myself liking her immediately, which was inconvenient because I had prepared myself for this meeting to be awkward and tense and full of meaningful pauses. Not comfortable. Not friendly. Definitely not involving offers of potentially toxic lemonade. "We are fine, thank you," I said, pulling out my tablet. "We wanted to ask you about a drawing you made when you were 7 years old. March of 2034. You called it, My Special Sky Picture." Her face lit up with recognition. "Oh, that one. Yeah, I remember it. My mom saved all my artwork, donated it to the Historical Society after I moved out. They archive everything from that era now, you know, because of the whole rebuilding effort after the climate correction." "Is this about that collection?" "Not exactly," Thex said carefully. "Ms. Vance, Mira, are you aware that your drawing depicts a star map?" "Well, sure. It was supposed to. I was really into space that year. My dad got me this telescope for my birthday, nothing fancy, just a little one you could set up in the backyard. I spent hours looking at stars." "And where did you get the positions for the stars in your drawing?" I asked, watching her face carefully. She frowned slightly, tilting her head. "I did not get them from anywhere. I just drew what I saw." "What you saw," Thex repeated. "Yeah. In my head. I know that sounds weird, but I had these really vivid dreams when I was a kid. Still do sometimes, actually, though not as often. I would dream about space, about being up there, looking down at stars from above instead of below. It felt so real. When I woke up, I would remember the patterns, so I drew them." The temperature in the greenhouse suddenly felt about 20 degrees colder. Thex and I exchanged a glance. "You dreamed the star patterns," I said slowly. Is that important?" I figured it was just my imagination. Kids have weird brains, you know. My grandson tells me about his dreams, and they involve talking sandwich creatures and flying through chocolate rivers. Mine just happened to be about space." She paused, studying our faces. "Okay, judging by your expressions, this is more important than I thought. What is going on?" Thex pulled out their own tablet, showing her the overlay of her drawing matched with the ancient chart. "Your drawing, the one you made from a dream when you were 7, matches a navigation chart we discovered carved into an alien structure. That structure is 47,000 years old." Mira stared at the screen. Then at us. Then back at the screen. Her mouth opened. Closed. Opened again. "I am sorry, what?" "Your childhood drawing," I said, "is an exact match for an artifact that predates human civilization by tens of thousands of years. And before you ask, no, there is no way you could have seen the original. It was not discovered until 7 years after you drew your picture, and it has been classified ever since." She sat down heavily on a nearby bench, still holding a trowel in one hand. "This is a joke, right? Is this one of those prank shows? Did my daughter put you up to this? Because this seems like something Emma would find hilarious." "I assure you, this is not a joke," Thex said, with the kind of grave seriousness that made it very clear they had never made a joke in their entire life and were not about to start now. Mira set down the trowel very carefully. Okay. Okay. So you are telling me that I somehow, psychically channeled an ancient alien star map when I was in 2nd grade? We do not know what we are telling you yet, I admitted. That is why we are here. To figure this out. Because, and I really cannot stress this enough, this should be impossible. How many drawings? She asked suddenly. Excuse me. You said my drawing matched one chart. Past tense, singular. But you traveled all the way to Earth to talk to me in person about a crayon picture from 50 years ago. That seems like a lot of effort for one coincidence. She looked at me sharply, and I realized that behind the cheerful plant enthusiast exterior was someone quite observant. How many of my drawings match your ancient alien things? I hesitated. Thex gave me a look that clearly said, you opened this door, you walked through it. 5, I said. 5 of your childhood drawings match 5 different charts from 5 different sites across the galaxy. All of them ancient. All of them predating any known civilization. Mira made a sound that was half laugh, half something else entirely. 5. Of course. Of course it is 5. Because why would anything in my life be simple? She stood up, paced a few steps, then turned back to us. Are there more? I drew a lot of space pictures when I was a kid. We have not finished analyzing all of them yet, Thex said. But preliminary scans suggest there may be as many as 11 matches total. 11. She laughed again, but it sounded slightly hysterical. I drew 11 impossible things before I turned 10. That is, my superpower. Cosmic plagiarism via crayon? We do not think you plagiarized anything, I said gently. We think something else is happening here. Something we do not understand yet. She looked at me, and for the first time, I saw fear flicker across her face. Am I in danger? Is my family in danger? No, Thex said immediately. You are not in any danger that we are aware of. We simply need to understand how this is possible. With your permission, we would like to run some tests. Nothing invasive. Brain scans, genetic analysis, interviews about your dreams and experiences. You would be compensated, of course, and you can stop at any time. Mira was quiet for a long moment, staring at the succulents she had been tending. Finally, she spoke. When I was 8, I had a dream that I was standing on a planet with 2 suns. The sky was orange. There were these structures, like buildings, but not quite. More organic. Growing out of the ground. And there were beings there, but they were not like anything I had ever seen. They were tall and thin, and they glowed slightly, like they had light inside them. She turned to look at us. I told my mom about it the next morning. She said it sounded like a wonderful imagination. I drew it, of course. It is probably in the collection somewhere. Is that real? Did that place exist? I pulled up the database on my tablet, searching through the images we had cataloged from the ancient sites. When I found what I was looking for, I felt my internal temperature regulation system fail completely. Show me the drawing, I said, my voice coming out rougher than intended. 2 hours later, we had it. The drawing showed exactly what she had described. 2 suns, orange sky, organic structures. And when we cross-referenced it with archaeological data from Site 43 in the Kepler sector, a site discovered just 6 years ago, the match was undeniable. Mira had drawn a photograph-perfect representation of an alien world that no human had visited. A world where the ruins suggested a civilization that vanished 40,000 years ago. How? Thex asked, not for the first time. Mira shook her head. I do not know. I have never known. I thought they were just dreams. Vivid dreams, sure, but dreams. Lots of kids have active imaginations, right? Not like this, I said quietly. Never like this. So what now? Mira asked. You run your tests, and then what? What if you find something? What if I am some kind of, I do not know, receiver for ancient alien television broadcasts or something? Then we figure out why, Thex said. And we figure out what it means. Mira looked out the greenhouse windows at the gardens beyond, at the normal, everyday world she had built for herself. Can I tell my family? My husband is going to worry if I suddenly start spending time with alien researchers. He is already anxious about me working too many hours. You can tell them whatever you are comfortable with, I assured her. Though we would appreciate discretion regarding the specific details of the charts. Right. Galactic security. Got it. She took a deep breath. Okay. I will do it. I will do your tests. But I have one condition. What is that? Thex asked. If you figure out what this is, if you learn something about those ancient civilizations or why I can somehow see things from 40,000 years ago, you tell me everything. No classified nonsense. No need-to-know basis. I want answers just as much as you do. Maybe more. I looked at Thex. Thex looked at me. We both looked at Mira, this human woman who grew plants and made pottery and apparently channeled ancient cosmic knowledge through her childhood dreams. Deal, we said simultaneously. As we left the greenhouse that day, I felt the weight of what we were stepping into. This was not just a mystery anymore. This was something fundamental. Something that suggested the universe was far more connected, far more strange, than any of us had imagined. Somewhere in the past, in the deep past before recorded history, something had happened. Something that left traces. Maps. Knowledge. Instructions, maybe. And somehow, impossibly, a human child had tapped into that legacy. The question was not just how. The question was why. And perhaps most unsettling of all, the question was what else did she know? What other secrets were locked away in dreams she barely remembered, in drawings she had made and forgotten? We were about to find out. And I had a feeling that once we started pulling on this thread, the entire tapestry of galactic history was going to unravel. But standing there in the afternoon sun, watching Mira return to her succulents like nothing world-shattering had just occurred, I could not help but think that humans were absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous and impossible and somehow, against all odds and logic, exactly what the universe needed. Even if they did insist on growing plants for aesthetic purposes while harboring ancient cosmic secrets. Especially then.